Hi. So we've been talking the last 2 weeks about dysmaturity and how that can play out in different youth and how that can be problematic. Today, we're going to focus on how people can be perceived as immature for their age. So, if you remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about the difference between dysmaturity versus immaturity, where with immaturity, you can, when you're confronted, snap out of it and act your age. But if you are dysmature, then you are developing your social and emotional aspects of your being at a much slower pace than your physical development and your some of your academic aspects of development, right? Today, we're going to focus on why kids are perceived as being immature for their age. So we're going to kind of loop back a little bit to our previous two conversations and think about what does that really look like if a youth is dysmature. Then they are roughly half of their body's age or their chronological age, right? And as I said 2 weeks ago, we have expectations of one another based on chronological age, or at least on size. If we see someone who is 4 feet tall, we expect them to be somewhere between 10-ish, right? And so we expect them to have certain capabilities. We certainly would not expect a kindergartner to be able to do the things that we would expect an older child to be able to do. So expectations has a lot to do with this. Similarly, there are societal expectations for certain hallmark birthdays. For instance, in the Hispanic culture, 15, everyone's expecting the young ladies to have quinceañeras, right? 16, what does 16 bring us? Driver's licenses, part-time jobs, right? Or for girls, babysitting at 13, right? We expect graduation to occur. We have expectations. And some of those are on that bigger scheme, and some of them are more in the minutia. We expect our teenagers to be responsible enough to show up for a part-time job, to be on time, to still get their schoolwork done, and on and on and on it goes. But what if our teenager with dysmaturity is only 8, 9, or 10 years old in that much older body? Will they live up to those expectations that people have for them? Chances are not, which means they're going to be viewed as immature. How do we usually interact with people that we view as immature? We tend to brush them aside. We tend to dismiss them. We tend to get frustrated by them, right? Or with them and be short, right? We let them know, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes not so subtle, that they have disappointed us again, right? So what is that experience like for someone who has no idea really why you're mad at them because they're doing the best that they can? Right? So just keep this in mind. And again, go back to what I said in week 1 about pay attention to the age of the child that your youth gravitates toward, because that's probably how old they are developmentally, right? And have expectations of your child or your youth or your teenager that are in line with their abilities, not their chronological age necessarily. Okay. And I know some of you are saying, yeah, but they have to make it in the real world, especially for our teenagers. But guess what? We're all in the real world, right? The real world didn't used to have curb cuts for wheelchairs. The real world didn't used to have all the braille markings on elevator buttons, or wide doorways for wheelchairs. The real world didn't used to make accommodations. But as more and more people recognized the need, realized that it was important, the real world made adaptations, provided accommodations. And the real world will, for dysmaturity also, once the real world understands it. And that's what this video series is about. Making sure that everyone can tune into this as a thing, right? And recognize it and respond to it in a way that is supportive. Whether it's your child, whether it's a child on your caseload, once you recognize it and wrap that person in the supports that they need, oh my goodness, your relationship is going to go through the roof. They are going to feel your support, and they're really going to gravitate and do great things. Because as they feel safe, they can grow and stretch, right? So I'll see you next week when we talk about how interest and play can often be like a much younger person. So next week will be our last week on dysmaturity, and then we'll move into another monthly theme. So it's been great. Have a good weekend. Have a great week coming up, and I'll see you again next Friday. Bye-bye.